Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this webinar. It's the second webinar in our series, and this one is focused specifically on license holders that have been with OneLicense.net in the past. If there are some of you that are transferring from Licensing Online, we want to welcome you here also. My name is Brenna Cronin. I'm the General Manager of OneLicense. I'm based in Chicago. There are a couple of other teams of people that are helping us with our webinar today. Paul Raspa is the General Manager of Licensing Online. He is with our team in Austin, and then we also have a team of tech folks who are helping us in Portland, Oregon. So huge undertaking to get all of this to you here today. There's a couple hundred people that are joining us, and we want to welcome all of you. Paul, specifically, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Brenna. It is great to be here. Glad to do this again. We did one last week, and it's going to be great. So hold on tight. Here we go.
Wonderful. Paul is going to take us through a few of the benefits of our partnership. He's going to talk a little bit about that and the overall kind of arching concept of what OneLicense is now. Then we're going to move into a demonstration of the website. Lots of really helpful information there. Most of you will be familiar with how OneLicense has worked in the past, but there are some updates to the design of the website. And then we're going to do some helpful resources, a welcome packet. We'll talk a bit about that, and we'll have some time for some Q&A at the end. So I want to encourage you to check out that chat link, that little bar on the side of your screen. You're more than welcome to submit your questions there. The team in Portland is going to help us organize those, and we'll be able to answer those at the end. So Paul, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Great. Thanks, Brenna. So I'm going to talk a little bit about partnership, and we understand that partnership is a very powerful thing, and it starts with bringing together the best Christian music publishers. You know, we have more than 150 member publishers. Likely those include the ones that are publishing the hymnals that are in your pews, the anthologies that your choir sings from, and the accompaniments that your instrumentalists use. We have partnered with the largest liturgical music publishers, including GIA Publications, OCP, Hope Publishing, Morningstar, Augsburg Fortress, and Oxford University Press. In the past, you may have gone to multiple license services to get this breadth and depth of publishers. Now, you will find them all at OneLicense. As a church musician, we recognize that the power of your ministry is in the songs that you select and pray each week. The new OneLicense brings you more than 50,000 songs from hundreds of composers, text writers, and arrangers. And it's songs you know, like All Are Welcome, Here I Am, Lord, We Are Called, On Eagle's Wings, The Summons. Plus, there's dozens and dozens of mass settings and Lutheran service settings that are all right at your fingertips. We think that you will find that one is a powerful number. You're going to get one music license with one annual fee, one website, and one set of rules and processes to follow. One really is a great number for you and for us. The new OneLicense has the power of simplicity. You will have one website to access permissions and download files from your vital publishers. This new interface is easy to navigate, fast, and pretty straightforward. It was built solely to support your ministry's licensing needs. Convenience is important because your time is a premium. We understand that. On this one website, you can download the text and melody engravings and the lyrics that you need so that you can quickly create worship aids and projection slides, and then report these songs for permissions and royalties. It's that easy. And lastly, I want to mention the power of service. Our OneLicense team understands music ministry and the complex needs of your churches, schools, and ministerial organizations. Please know that we are here to serve you and to support you week in and week out. Now we're going to transition over, and Brenda's going to start to show you some of the key features of the new website, which you can access at www.onelicense.net. And as we mentioned before, I'd encourage you to follow along with those webinar handouts That way you can make some notes on the screenshots that we've provided for you.
Alrighty, so I want to bring your attention first of all to our homepage. The homepage is going to give you the ability to log in. It's also going to give you the ability to search for music titles whether you are a license holder or not. So one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is transparency. We want you, whether you're logged in or not, to be able to search for a title and see if it's covered in our database. I specifically was looking for the title All Are Welcome by Marty Haugen. I can click on View More Versions here and see that it's an incredibly robust title in our system. But of course, the second that I try to download something, it's going to encourage me to purchase a license. So in addition to the 160 different member publishers that we work with, we also want to give our customers and our non-customers the ability to search for titles and see if they're available on our site. So I'm going to take you through an overview of the brand new homepage, which launched on January 1st, and then we'll move into the inside of the website as well. We give you a brief overview of the concept of one license, making it easy for worshiping communities to obtain copyright reprints of congregational music. So any music that you would need for a choir or an instrumentalist or an accompanist is going to need to come from the member publisher itself. We offer music image files of reprint boxes, so something that you would see maybe in a digital version or on the back of an octavo or something like that. That is what is available on our website. The music that is on here is entirely up to the member publisher as to whether they wanted to provide it or not. What that means is that we're primarily a reporting service and secondarily a downloading service. The 160 or so member publishers that we work with and their divisions, so I'll give you an example. GIA is a member publisher. Teze and the Iona community and the Damians are divisions of the company, and they give us the ability to put their music on the website as well. You'll be able to find that music here to report it. There are some member publishers that want you to reach out to their specific services to actually download the music. Sundays and Seasons with Augsburg Fortress is one that comes to mind to me right now. They would prefer for you to go through their service to download the music and then through us to report it. So I hope that that makes sense. How One License works is downloading, creating, and reporting. It's a three-step process. We give you the ability, if the member publisher has given it to us, to download the music that you need. Once the image is downloaded, you'll need to depend on your own team and your own desktop publishing software to create what you want to create, whether that is a worship aid or a bulletin or a projection. That's entirely up to your team and to how you want to create that. Reporting then gives you the ability to make sure that that royalty is distributed to the composer, the author, and the publisher appropriately. So download, create, report. It's almost become a mini slogan here on our team as a three-step process. Further down here, we have a selection of our select member publishers. To view more of the publishers, you can click here, and I'll also show you where at the top of the screen that you can view them as well. For now, I want to show you our news and announcement section. This links us directly to our blog. Our blog is updated on a constant basis. There's at least 2, sometimes 3 articles that are published to our blog every single month. So you can view those at news.onelicense.net, which is this screen right here. So you'll notice that last week we had our other webinar with our LSO folks. That was uploaded, and this webinar will also be uploaded to our blog early next week. So anybody that wanted to attend the webinar today and wasn't able to will be able to view it here. You also notice that this month we're featuring our article on OCP, our newest member publisher. Really, really great interview in there with John Lim, the publisher of OCP. You can also search here if there's something that you know that you have seen before. For example, we have a Spotlight series, and we feature a different member publisher every month or so. You'll notice that we've featured Concordia and Morningstar and Hope previously, so you're more than welcome to click on those articles and review that information. You can also search the archives by month here as well. You can view the blog at any time, but once a month you will receive an updated newsletter from us drawing your attention to the blog and any other business updates that are happening in the company. You can choose to unsubscribe from that at any time. You can choose to subscribe at any time by clicking on the newsletter little button that's inside of your account page, and I'll show you that a little bit later on. We have our testimonials here. If you'd ever like to submit something to our team, we'd be more than happy to feature it on our website. And then on a little footer here, it mentions the address, the phone number, the email address, some FAQs, helpful links that are there. The About Us section is going to take you to a letter from myself welcoming you and giving you some concept information about one license and who it serves. This contact button here is the same thing as clicking on an email here. So if you click an email, it's probably going to bring up in your own specific email server. If you click on the contact link, it's going to take you to our specific page. So something that we are incredibly proud of, especially in the last couple of months and with this now merger, we have an online ticketing system that allows your email to go into a queue so it can be responded to appropriately. I do want to take a moment to thank all of you for your patience while we respond to the extremely high call and email volume. I can assure you that anything that you have submitted to us will be responded to. I hope that you can have some of the answers to your questions in this webinar today. Otherwise, we will follow up with each of you individually. And again, thank you for your patience. So when you send us an email here, it's incredibly helpful to include your license number, invoice number, address, and zip or postal code. What that allows us to do is respond to your inquiry immediately with as much information as we possibly have. We want this online ticketing system to not necessarily develop into conversations. It'll allow us, if you send a specific question with your contact information, we can respond right away, letting you know the answers to those questions, and you can have them right away at your fingertips. So that way there's not a back and forth of inquiries, all right? So please, when you're leaving us a voicemail or sending us an email, include all of that information. It'll help us be able to answer those account questions more efficiently. I'm going to take you to our How It Works page and encourage you to view how it works at any time. It's a product overview video. It's about 2.5 minutes long or so that we filmed back in August. It was a really, really great day for us and our team to be able to do that. This is going to give you an overview of the concept. We have reprint licenses. Those are annual, event, or single use. Most of you who are on this webinar today are dedicated church musicians and secretaries and directors of music and things like that who have an annual license with us. We also offer event and single-use licenses. Podcast streaming licenses can be purchased on top of annual reprint licenses. That allows you to put your stream or your podcast up on your website or social media or things like that. It gives you the ability to broadcast to up to 3 times as many people as your average weekly attendance. So if you're in Category C, for example, which gives you clearance for 101 to 200 people for your average weekly attendance, this will then give you the ability to have 3 times as many people view your podcast, if that's applicable to you and your church. Practice track licenses are being revamped a little bit. They're not going to be based on the credit system anymore. There'll be more information about that coming in February. The tutorial videos will be available at the beginning of next week. Clicking on the Member Publishers link, it's a dynamic web page, so it will filter results as you type in. So if I type in OCP, for example, not only can I see that they're covered, I can click on this link to be taken directly to their website if that's of help to me, but I can also see their different divisions that are covered as well. If I search GIA, I'll notice that it brings up Taizé and Walton and Iona and those other groups that I had mentioned earlier. If a member publisher is covered by our service, that means that you have the ability to report their usage. It doesn't mean that you have the ability to download. We did talk about that a little bit earlier, but you do have the ability to report it. The only caveat to that is that there are some select Lutheran liturgical settings from Augsburg Fortress that are not available. The options and prices page, again, this is the exterior of the website. This gives you the new pricing structure. So if you're interested in what you're budgeting for in the coming year when you expect that invoice, you can plan on these numbers that are here. The event and the single-use licensing pricing is also below. Alrighty, I want to take you to the inside of the website now, so give me just a moment to log in here. Paul, is there anything that you want to add from the exterior?
I think that just about does it.
Alrighty. So you'll notice that I've tried to type in an email address and it has given me this forgot password link. The forgot password link is going to be incredibly important, and I know that some of you have had some frustration in that for the last 2 weeks. If you are logging onto the website for the first time in a long time, we have updated our security settings. If you are logging onto the website for the first time because you are a Licensing Online user, you will also need to update your password as well. That link for you is up here. Forgetting your password will bring you here. You'll type in your email address and you'll be sent a link just like you would for any other website. Once you have the correct password, it'll allow you to get into your account. You'll notice that the first thing that you see is your reprint usage reports. Customers that were on onelicense.net will be able to see their historical data. The system will let you report 12 weeks in the past and 6 weeks into the future for those of you that like to plan ahead. For those of you that are transferring from Licensing Online, it's just going to give you week 1 of the new year. You will not be able to see any of this information historically. For those of you that have titles that are outside of this window, that are from before October 20th, we encourage you, or if you're LSO and they're before the first of the year, we encourage you to put them in for any available week. It is better late than never when reporting your titles, so we encourage you to stay on top of that. For some churches, reporting weekly is the best bet for them because they have a lot of titles. For others, it may be monthly. For some of you, you're just seasonal and you may only use it certain times of the year. So I want to mention a few things about reporting here for just a moment. If you are a seasonal church who only uses the license when you need to, there may be whole weeks of the year that you don't need to report anything. Our system is going to remind you, it's going to send the account owner a reminder that there needs to be a report submitted. If you haven't used anything, you can ignore that message. You do not need to respond to us and tell us that there's nothing to report. There's no need to do that. Later on in the year, we're hoping to roll out a nothing to report button, but at this time you can ignore those messages if they are not applicable to you. You will receive a reminder after 2 months and 4 months, so you can be prepared for that. If it's anything beyond that, folks, I want to be really honest and sincere here. The royalties are paid directly to our composers because they are owed those royalties. If you use a song of theirs, they should expect to receive income from you using that song. The only way that that can happen is if you report your titles. So I encourage you to develop a system with your team once a week, once a month, but definitely not more than those 12 or 6 weeks, right? Because then the system is going to get behind and those royalties aren't going to be paid. Taking you up to your account here in the upper right-hand corner, you'll notice that I can view my invoice. I can also click on the terms of having the license. If there was an outstanding invoice that was here for me, I can click on View License History and I could see that I needed to pay something. Keeping account updated information is incredibly important. Here's that subscribe to newsletter button that I had mentioned earlier. Keeping your email here is incredibly important. Sometimes there's turnover in different churches, different people being in different positions, so we encourage you to keep that as updated as you can. Further down the organization profile, you can update the address, the phone number, etc. I want to bring your attention to the right side of the screen, 2 very important pieces that are here. You'll notice that something that is brand new for those of you that only had onelicense.net on our service now is the number of services that you have in a week. This will save you time and it will save you effort. If you are a church that has 3 services, you can go ahead and put in 3 services. If it changes over the summer, if you only have 2 instead of 3, you can update that in May or June when that happens. This will allow you, when you report a song, for it to count for 3 services because it is your default. Now, leaving your default still gives you the ability to edit how often a song is used. So if you have a one-off, like a funeral or a wedding or something like that, when you report that title, you can edit that number, and I will show you that in just a few minutes. You also have the option of picking a default worship resource. So some of these are missals, some of these are hymnals. What it allows you to do is choose your default hymnal, and it will bring those results to the top faster. All right? I won't click on one because I want to be able to show you what the general search results look like. Let's talk about searching, reporting, and downloading music for just a moment. I'm going to come back to our All Are Welcome example from earlier. So you'll notice that it's the 3rd one down that I'm looking for, Marty Haugen's version of All Are Welcome. When I click on View More Versions, I have the ability to see exactly which hymnal or octavo they're being pulled from. So for example, Gather Comprehensive, the preview here, it may look a little bit different than the Lead Me, Guide Me version. You'll notice that there's a descant here for verse 5. So you're more than welcome to look at all of these versions. You do not need to have owned these hymnals in any capacity. These are just different versions that you can pull from. You'll also notice that some of them have listen links or some of them have text links. So again, this is entirely up to the member publisher as to what they would like to have on the page. You'll notice that here, All Are Welcome here by ILP or All Are Welcome from Dakota Road. In this scenario, they've opted not to have that download available, and that's entirely their prerogative. So you can still report the title. We are a reporting service primarily. If you wanted to download the title, it would need to be available here for you. All right. I'll go ahead and pull up a different number for you here. Let's go ahead and search Breaking Bread number 310. So that pulls up Table of Plenty for me. Again, I can click on those View More versions. I can double check that this is in fact the copyright that I'm looking for. If the Journey Songs version is the one that I want to report, I can click there. By selecting the week that I want to report it into, it will give me accuracy for when it was used. Now here you'll notice that my default one service is what comes up. Perhaps this said 3. Perhaps my regular default number of services every week was 3. If I wanted to report this for a wedding, all I would have to do is click on one service. That's it. All right, so it gives you the ability each and every time to be able to edit that. If I wanted to submit and continue the search, I would click here, and it would take me back to this very same page. If I wanted to report it and view the report, I could do that here. This is going to take me to the list of songs that I have reported so far for this specific week. I want to encourage you that this save button, is just a feel-good button. It's just to make sure that you feel as though you have saved it, all right? If you see something here, it has been saved, okay? But we live in this kind of culture where we feel like we always have to click save, right? Because that's what we were taught to do. So clicking save will save it. It's just to make you feel better, all right? I hope that gives you a little bit of humor today. You can download all of the available titles here. What's going to happen is that it's going to pull it into a zip drive for you. You can also download them individually on that page that I just brought up for you by clicking on that PDF, GIF, or TIFF link. I can also save this report as a list. So perhaps I'm building something for ordinary time. Perhaps I am creating my list for Lent. Again, I can save and stay on the report, or I can save and manage my list. If I go to my list for Lent, not only will I be able to see, perhaps I call it Lent 2017, next year I can pull up that historical information to see what I used the previous year. My church, for example, we use the same booklets for Triduum because they're expensive and we've created them once. So we do use that same music year after year after year. It's become a wonderful tradition in our church for people to expect that music being used. So I can simply pull up my list from a previous time and report that I've used all of them. Nice and easy. You don't have to go researching for those titles again. I want to take you back to the search page for just a second and show you a couple of other ways that you can search. Obviously, you can search by title. You can also search by contributor, by tune, by meter, and I'm going to show you psalm setting here. Searching something as simple as Psalm 23 is going to pull up all of Psalm 23 in alphabetical order. So you'll notice that those results could be a little bit much for you to go through. You're more than welcome to also search here by title. Mass setting is another great way to search for something. The revised order of Mass is going to be on the left-hand side for our Catholic churches. For those Lutheran services that are still using these Mass settings on the right-hand side, you can pull those from there as well. By clicking on one of the Masses, you will notice that it pulls up every piece of it. So you can perhaps report all that you've selected, right? Or you can report them individually. If I click on this PDF link or the TIFF link, it will download an individual piece of that music. Searching by Lutheran liturgical setting can also be helpful for you here as well. Obviously, by searching typing in Hold an Evening Prayer here, it will pull it up for you, but you can also search by Lutheran liturgical setting here.
Brenna, if you're able to go back to the Psalm settings for just a moment and pull up Psalm 23 again, I just want to remind our customers that so many of our songs have very similar titles, particularly when we start talking about scripture-referenced titles like the Psalms. So please be sure to double-check your copyright lines to make sure that you've got the right version by the right composers, or what we often call contributors in one license. Make sure you've got the right folks there, the right publishing house. And note that sometimes just because a particular hymnal is published by a particular company, that doesn't necessarily mean that all the songs inside that hymnal are published by that company. So that we can make sure that we pay the right composers and they get justly compensated all the way through the pipeline here, please double check those copyright lines as you're reporting and make sure you're clicking on the right ones.
Yeah, Paul, that's a great point. When publishers are working to create a hymnal, they're looking to create the most marketable product possible. So you'll notice that in GIA hymnals, you'll have pieces from OCP or from Rogue Library or from independent copyright holders. And before this merger, OCP titles were not available on our service, and now they are. So member publishers can join us at any time. There's always, folks that are being added and titles that are being added, but again, just because you pull up, a Gather hymnal or a Breaking Bread hymnal or something like that doesn't mean that every single one of those songs is going to be covered. I will show you too, kind of like how I did the Breaking Bread earlier. If we look at Gather 2, for example, and I search 705, I know that that song is A Place at the Table, and I know that that one is covered. If I had searched for something else and it didn't pull it up for me, there's a solid chance that that song isn't covered by our member publishers that we work with. So I hope that makes sense. Alrighty, so we're going to transition over to talking a little bit about some helpful resources. So while that's happening, I want to give you an idea of what those helpful resources are. So while the Portland team is taking back control over my screen, let's talk about that a little bit. So some of you have received welcome packets from us. Those are all based on request. So at this time, there isn't a way for the welcome packets for you to send them to yourselves. They are dynamic welcome packages, which means that they are unique and specific to each of your organizations. So if you are looking for a welcome packet, we encourage you, and our team is ready to take your emails. If you send us an email, info@onelicense.net, or clicking on that Contact Us link, send us the name of your church, the address, your license number, and your desire for a welcome packet. That's not even a message that we have to respond to. We can just automatically send it to you. It comes via email, and it goes to the primary account holder's email address. That welcome packet is made up of 3 things. There is a letter from me directly. There is your invoice, so whether you owe any money or whether you do not. There is a helpful instructions document, which again, if you look at the bottom of that on the left-hand side of the screen, it's dynamic, so it has my specific email, my specific license number. And then there's also the terms of agreement for having the license with us. So I want to be very clear that just because you pay for the license does not mean that you are abiding by copyright law. You do need to report your usage, so that way that money can be distributed to those composers, authors, and publishers appropriately. It does not cost you any money to report that you have used a title. You've already paid once for the year. You're good to go. All you have to do is report your usage. And another helpful resource is that blog that I mentioned earlier. So if you didn't have a chance to write that down, that's news, news.onelicense.net. Constantly updated articles, tutorial videos, webinars, things like that. We will draw your attention to it once a month in our newsletter, but we encourage you to check the blog often.
Brenna, just as a reminder, most of the folks that are on this particular webinar were already onelicense.net customers, and so your license number likely has not changed. However, if you previously were also a licensing online customer, you may have a new license number. So be sure to click on that My Account link at the top of your page when you log in. Double check your account number. It's a 6-digit number that either begins with a 6 or a 7, and please use that number going forward. If you have items that have your old account number on there, your old license number on there, don't panic. No need to destroy those. just as they come up for reprint or you get ready to update your PowerPoint presentations, please just transition over to the new number.
Yeah, that's a great point. And if you were a dual license holder, if you had both Licensing Online and OneLicense.net, the A-7 number, not the A-6 number, or just the 6 number, I suppose, the A-7 number is what is going to continue forward. So anything that you do print that is new, we encourage you to start using that A-7 number. So we can move into our Q&A portion of the webinar here while our team is going and getting ready for that. Paul, is there anything else that you wanted to mention?
Do you want to talk a little bit about how we need to notate our copyright lines before we jump over to the Q&A?
Yeah, that's a great point. So the helpful instructions document and the terms of agreement document, both of those are going to have exactly spelling out what the copyright line needs to say. So you'll notice that when you download a piece of music, 9 times out of 10, it's likely going to have that copyright line of, you know, this is the composer, this is the year, and all that jazz. So for some of you, all you may have to write is all rights reserved, reprinted under one license, A dash, and then your number. You can put that at the front of your booklet, the back of your booklet, on your projection screen, wherever it happens to be, but that number needs to be written somewhere. Otherwise, there will be an assumption that that music was not used under copyright and under having a license, which is required, all right? If for whatever reason the title of the piece and underneath it doesn't have that copyright line, then you would write one of these. Words and Music, Jane Doe, copyright. If there's multiple, if there's a words and music or just separate composers and authors, then you can use the second line here. Either way, you have to write that line, all rights reserved, reprinted under one license number, A dash, and then your numbers.
So let's transition to some questions. Our colleague Jethro has been monitoring all those questions that you've been typing in that gray bar on the side of your screen, and he's going to share some of those now, and Brenna and I are going to take a stab at them.
Great, thanks Paul, thanks Brenna. You guys did a great job actually answering a couple of the questions already right there at the end, so and marked a few off. One of the main questions though that I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to dive into for our customers is, if I have a license from OCP and GIA, do I still need both or should I cancel one? It seems like people may be a little confused about the relationship between the companies.
Sure. I mean, anytime we have a merger of two great companies, there's going to be a little bit of confusion around pricing, and if you had multiple accounts, how do those come together? So if you had a OneLicense.net license and you had a Licensing Online license previously, we have merged those two into a single license for you. Your expiration date is now whatever the latest expiration was. So let's say that your one license was expiring in March and your Licensing Online was expiring in August. Your new expiration is August, so it's the latest date possible. That means you get a little bit better value out of the deal and get some extra months at a lower price. In terms of that pricing, you will not pay the new pricing schedule until you come up for renewal. So for some of you that may have renewed late in 2016, you won't have to renew until the end of 2017. Others of you are coming up for renewal right now in January and February, so you would have already received your invoice from One License in the last week or two, and we'd ask that you pay that new pricing schedule as it comes through. You'll notice that the new prices are slightly different than our old prices in two ways. One, the prices are a little bit higher. Part of that is because we have a lot more music that we're offering you, and essentially we're taking two and putting them into one. We realize that many of you will no longer have to subscribe to other external services either, so we're kind of combining those together. We're also keeping our rates pretty competitive with other license programs that are out on the market, and so you will find that the price is just a little bit higher than it was before, but still very reasonable, still very affordable for most churches and schools. The other piece here is that you want to understand that these licenses are going to come together at this timeline for your renewal, and you will be able to just simply move forward from here out and not have to worry about your old Licensing Online or your old OneLicense.net. Hopefully that clarifies some of the questions around pricing and how we're moving forward with renewals.
That's great. Thank you, Paul. Here's another great question. People are concerned about the terminology being used. Is there a difference between a copyright holder and a member publisher?
So a member publisher is a company. It's a publisher. Somebody like GIA or OCP or Augsburg Fortress, Hope, Oxford, things like that. Those are member publishers. So when we think about all of the publishers that we work with, they are using us to get their music out there, to create, we're almost like an agent for lack of a better word. We have the ability to have all of this music visible on the website so that way royalties are paid for appropriately. You know, when you think about the historical kind of like concept of where this whole thing came from, there were people that were Xeroxing music and thinking that it was okay, or thinking that, you know, it was being done with the best intentions, and that isn't always the case. So we exist to ensure that those royalties are paid. A copyright holder, that could be an independent copyright, so that could be, you know, Paul Raspa himself wrote a song and it's, you know, available on the website because of that. There are some independent, you know, copyright holders that are here. Copyright could also apply to the different divisions that are under companies. So like I mentioned earlier, with GIA being an agent for, you know, Tizay and Iona and things like that, those could be called copyrights as well.
That's great. Thank you. We have a couple of questions around how to enter the field for services. The first question is, if I'm a school and we only do one mass a month, how many services a week should I say that we do?
One.
Great. And the other question is, if we have two identical services, does that count as one service or two?
Two.
Great. Really?
It's instinctual, isn't it?
Knocking them out.
I want to clarify around that because that is a little bit of a shift for our OneLicense.net customers under this new structure where you're having to tell us the number of services that you use. That is really important because it impacts the way that we pay royalties to the individual copyright holders, to those composers and text writers and those publishing houses. So it may seem like a little thing, but please be very diligent about specifying the number of services, and it is each individual service, not the number of people that came to a service, but how many services, how many prayer experiences, how many worship experiences did you create for that particular weekend. And so if your church does 3 services, does one on Saturday and one on Sunday morning and then another one on Sunday night, that counts as 3 different services, even though it may be the same music, it may be the same PowerPoint slides, you may even reuse a file from last year. It's how many times did you pray those songs as a congregation. That's what we're looking to capture in that field.
Great.
Yeah, and then that number for your average weekly attendance, sorry to interrupt you, the average weekly attendance is how we base the pricing structure. So average weekly attendance, like I mentioned earlier, you know, category D gives you clearance for 201 to 400. That's the number of copies that you can make. That's the number of people that you are expecting in attendance. So there are some churches that only use one license for a specific service, and we completely respect that. So making sure that your average weekly attendance is accurate when you pay your bill every year. It's going to save you money. It's going to help our royalties be accurate. And then this added, you know, service, you know, number that you can enter there. We're trying our very, very best, and I'll be transparent about this. We're trying our very, very best to ensure that we are the licensing company that offers the most accurate royalties. There are other licensing companies out there that this isn't the most important thing that they're focused on. We want our composers and our publishers and authors to be aware that we are handling their music with integrity and they are getting paid the royalties that they are owed.
Great. We have a question about the files available for download. This customer is wondering what the difference is between using a PDF, a TIFF, or a GIF, and why they're all available.
The files that are provided are supplied by the various publishers, and we know that different people have different needs in the way that you're going to use those files. So PDF is a very common format that's out there on the web. It's easy just to print those out, photocopy them, and go. However, sometimes, depending on which desktop publishing software you may be using, a PDF might not be as easy to manipulate. And so that's why we've provided some of the other image formats like TIFF and GIF. I think there's a few JPEGs out there as well. We've put those up there because they may be easier for you to pull into Microsoft Word or into your PowerPoint, or if you're using InDesign or some of the other higher-end desktop publishing packages. We want to give you options on how to do that, and so it may be worth doing a little bit of trial and error on your own based on the software that's on your personal computer, your office computer. See what's easiest to move around, to manipulate, to slice down to the sizes that you need to fit the various dimensions that you may have, and you may find that one size or one style fits a little bit better than some of the others, but it's the same content or very, very similar content in each one of those.
Great. Another customer is interested in knowing, they don't see the hymnal that they use regularly in their parish. Is it possible to add hymnals to the license?
Yeah, great question. If the member publisher wants to do that, they're more than welcome to. It's an incredibly big process to upload a hymnal or something like that, so the member publisher would have to reach out to us for that. But customers are more than welcome to contact them and see if that's something that they plan on doing in the future.
And we have a concern, some people are searching for some of the new content that's been added during the merger and are not finding mass settings or particular songs. Is that content going to become available?
You know, the member publishers have brought together a lot of content, and during any transition, it can be a little bit of a challenge to try to get all those pieces in place right at the launch. And so you will find that for most of our member publishers that came over from Licensing Online, we have brought most of their content over. Some of the larger publishers are reevaluating the content. OCP is one of those. A couple of the other large publishers are looking to see, can we bring more songs over? And so it is likely that you will see more songs in the coming weeks and months. You will likely see more engravings, more of those assembly boxes, reprint boxes coming online over the coming weeks and months. So we can't say for certain that, yes, you're going to find a particular song on one license in the next week or the next month, but please know that we are working very closely with the various member publishers, trying to encourage them to bring as much content as possible to the site.
Great. Is there a difference between the reprint reporting between a worship aid and, say, projection?
There is not a difference, but there is a difference with reprinting and with podcasting. So if I can speak to that, because I'm sure that may be a question as well. So whether you're putting it into a worship aid, projection screen, a bulletin, we don't mind. We don't need to know. There's no different way that you need to report it. However, if you have a podcast streaming license and you are putting something up on the website, you will report that you've used, for example, All Are Welcome and Table of Plenty and those other songs that we searched earlier. You will report those as if they were for a reprint license. And then the instrumental interlude that you use for prep of gifts, or the choral anthem that you have for your prelude, right? Those will be reported for podcasting. So even though the congregation didn't participate, if you are still putting this up on your website or your social media or wherever it happens to be, there is a royalty that is owed there. I hope that makes sense.
Great. And this customer is searching for a psalm, and they see a lot of different psalms, say, for example, Psalm 27, but they don't see the version that they're using. What should they do?
I would encourage them to maybe search a different way. I know earlier we searched, Psalm 23, and it brought them all up in alphabetical order, which can be difficult. Perhaps by searching directly the title. And you know what? If you want to pass the screen back over to me, I'll give you a second to do that, and I'll show you folks something. It's called a manual submission. If you have searched every possible way that you can search, if you have just done your very, very, very best. You've searched here for the title. Perhaps you've searched by the hymnal. You've searched by the psalm setting, and you just cannot find it. You are always welcome to manually submit a title, all right? By clicking on manually submit a title, you can type in the song title, the first line, the copyright holder, all of this information. I would almost ask for more information than less information. This is going to be able to help us find it, because either it's not up on the website because the member publisher doesn't want it to be, and we can check in with them about that, or this website started as a user-created website, so perhaps the title is totally fair and should be there, but isn't there for some reason, right? Or for whatever reason, maybe you were searching it incorrectly, the title is spelled wrong, things like that. We'll be able to send you direct feedback. So at a very, very last resort, you can always submit a manual title. We will figure out if it needs to be on the website or not. For example, before OCP was with us, if folks submitted OCP titles through a manual submission, we would respond back and say, at this time, that group is not a member publisher with us. So that does happen as well. You will get a personal response from our team anytime you submit a manual title submission.
Great. Another question is, will we be able to share this webinar with staff members who weren't available today?
Absolutely. It'll be available on news.onelicense.net, news.onelicense.net. It'll take maybe, 48 hours or so for us to get it up there since it's such a big file, so give us some patience with that. But when you receive the January newsletter next week, there will be the link for it there also. So news.onelicense.net you can visit anytime. It's also up on YouTube as well, but you can view it through our blog.
Great. Well, that's we're coming to the close of the time we have available for questions. There's a lot of really great questions that maybe need some more individualized help, so people will be responding to the questions that you've asked. So thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thanks for helping us with the Q&A. I really just want to say again thank you to all of you so much for being here today. It's so wonderful that you all have made this a priority. We really appreciate it. There is going to be a little bit of a delay in us responding to individual questions, and that's only because of the volume. So we thank you for your patience again with that. If you want that welcome packet, that's something that can happen very easily. Send us that email with your church name and address and license number. We can get it to you immediately. That'll go right to the account owner.
And just as a reminder, if you have other questions or concerns that we haven't addressed, please feel free to send those using that contact form that Brenna showed us earlier, or info@onelicense.net, or calling our toll-free number. Your feedback is really important to us. It helps us build not only a better service, but the best One License service out there. So we appreciate that feedback, so keep it coming.
Wonderful. Thank you.
On behalf of One License, go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you, but you're going to say the same thing.
So on behalf of One License, we want to thank you for taking time today to discover more about our new partnership, and we very much look forward to serving your community in the year ahead. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.